Welcome to Springfield Career Insights. Tonight, we explore the path beyond pain, how survivors of marital abuse can reclaim dignity through restorative justice. We ask, can healing happen without justice? Can communities that once ignored the abuse now become part of the restoration? We are joined by His Excellency Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, President of Springfield Research University, trauma strategist, and architect of survivor-led justice framework. His work insists that healing must be structured, survivor-defined, and institutionally supported. Welcome, President. Your insight is both urgent and restorative.
Thank you, Advocate. Healing is not a return to what was. It is a reconstruction of what must be. Restorative justice offers survivors not just closure, but clarity, courage, and the right to begin again.
Thank you, Professor. Let's begin with the wound. What does healing look like for someone who survived marital abuse, and who decides when it begins?
Thank you, Advocate. It begins in silence, not the silence of surrender, but the silence after the storm. When the last insult is echoed, the last bruise is darkened, and the soul sits still, asking, am I still mine? Healing looks like contradiction. It is the trembling hand that signs a lease for freedom, while the heart still flinches at kindness. It is the laughter that feels foreign, the mirror that no longer lies, the body that relearns its own name. Healing is not linear, it is sovereign. It does not obey calendars, therapists, or well-meaning friends. It begins when the survivor says, enough. Not when the world says, move on, but when the soul whispers, I choose to live. And who decides when it begins? Not the court, not the church, not the counselor, only the one who bore the wound, only the one who knows the shape of the silence, only the one who dares to say, I am not what was done to me.
Thank you, Professor. Can restorative justice offer dignity without demanding forgiveness?
Thank you, Advocate. Restorative justice is not a sermon. It is a reckoning. It does not kneel before forgiveness, nor does it demand it as proof of healing. It begins with truth, not the sanitized truth of institutional reports, but the raw, trembling truth of the wounded, the truth that bleeds, resists, and remembers. Dignity is not a reward, it is a right. It belongs to the survivor before the apology, before the reconciliation, before the perpetrator learns the language of remorse. Restorative justice offers dignity by naming the harm, by centering the voice that was silenced, by refusing to measure healing in hugs or handshakes. Forgiveness is a sovereign act, not a civic obligation. It may come, it may never come, but justice must not wait for it. Justice must stand even when forgiveness sits. Justice must speak even when forgiveness is silent. So yes, restorative justice can offer dignity without demanding forgiveness, because dignity is not transactional. It is the echo of the truth, the architecture of accountability, and the quiet revolution of saying, I was harmed, I am whole, I owe you nothing.
Thank you, Professor. What does accountability mean when the abuser refuses to acknowledge harm?
So accountability is not a confession. It is a covenant. It does not wait for the abuser's apology, nor does it collapse in the absence of remorse. It stands because the harm was real. It speaks because silence is complicity. It demands because dignity is non-negotiable. When the abuser refuses to acknowledge harm, accountability becomes architectural. It is built in public record, in institutional response, in civic recognition. It is the survivor's testimony etched into law. The community's refusal to normalize cruelty. The system's obligation to protect, even when the perpetrator denies. So, accountability without admission is not hollow, it is heroic. It is the survivor saying, you may never name what you did, but I will. It is the court saying, your denial does not erase the evidence. It is the society saying, we will not wait for your conscience to awaken. So, what does accountability mean? It means the truth is not hostage to the abuser's memory. It means justice is not delayed by their denial. It means the wound is named, the harm is documented, the survivor walks forward, not because the abuser repented, but because the world refused to forget.
Thank you, Professor. Is it enough to remove the victim from danger, or must we also remove the silence from the system?
Thank you, Advocate. Safety is the beginning, not the solution. To remove the victim from the danger is to rescue the body. But to remove the silence from the system is to rescue the future. Because danger does not live in bruises alone. It lives in procedures that fail, in institutions that whisper, in cultures that call survival drama and justice revenge. Silence is not neutral, it is complicity. It is the policy that lacks teeth, the official who shrugs, the file that disappears, the meeting that ends with, let's not escalate. It is the system saying, we have done enough, when the wound still bleeds. Removing the victim is messy. Removing the silence is reform. One shelters the survivor, the other prevents the next. So, no, it is not enough. We must indict the silence. We must audit the procedures. We must rewrite the manuals, retrain the staff, and reimagine justice as something louder than survival. Because if the system stays silent, then danger is not gone. It is simply waiting.
Thank you, Professor. Should survivors be allowed to define their own justice, legal, emotional, and spiritual?
Thank you, Advocate. Justice is not a courtroom. It is a compass. And the survivor must hold it. Because no statute, no sermon, no psychologist can fully map the terrain of a wound they did not wear. Legal justice is a scaffold, but not the summit. It may convict, compensate, or correct. but it cannot always console. It cannot always restore what was stolen in silence. Emotional justice is the right to feel without permission, to rage without apology, to grieve without timeline, to heal without performance. Spiritual justice is the reclamation of meaning. It is the survivor saying, I will not let this define my divinity. It is the quiet prayer, the loud poem, the sacred refusal to be erased. So yes, survivors must be allowed to define their own justice, because justice is not a one-size-fits-all. It is not a verdict. It is a voice. And that voice must be sovereign. Let the law listen. Let the system bend. Let the world learn that justice is not just what we deliver. It is what the wounded deserve to define.
Thank you, Professor. What role should faith institutions play in healing? Not just preaching reconciliation, but protecting dignity.
Thank you, Advocate. Faith must not be a pulpit of platitudes. It must be a sanctuary of justice. But more often than not, faith has become a pulpit of platitudes. But we're saying it must be a sanctuary of justice. Because reconciliation without protection is a sermon without shelter. And dignity without defense is a prayer unanswered. Faith institutions must do more than preach. They must intervene. They must name the harm, not just the hope. They must hold space for the wounded, not just the repentant. They must stop asking survivors to forgive before they are safe. I don't know how to emphasize this. That's what our pastors do. Our counselors do. No, forgive. You know? But they want you to forgive someone who has not repented. They must stop asking survivors to forgive before they are safe. Healing is sacred, but so is accountability. Let the altar become a witness stand. Let the scripture speak of justice, not just mercy. Let the clergy become custodians of truth, not mediators of silence. Protecting dignity means refusing to spiritualize suffering. It means refusing to call endurance grace when it is actually abandonment. It means refusing to call silence peace when it is actually complicity. So, what role should faith play is the question. It must be the voice that says, you are not to blame. The hand that says, you are not alone. The institution that says, we will not reconcile until you are restored. We will not reconcile until you are restored. Because faith, at its most divine, does not just heal the soul. It defends the body, dignifies the story, and refuses to let justice wait.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to a song called Ilizwi Limited.
Easy when near Springfield, lapho umthetho ubiza abafundi bavuka baphula udongeni ngokuthakazelela nangokuhlusiwe baphakama bakhumangisa ithiyori nokusebenza baphendula kubizelwa komthetho iSpringfield Law Clinic lapho amaphupho ethuthuka ukhuthaza abantu kukhanya kakhulu kusekele khulwini ukuya esitaladini silwa ngenhlonipho ngihlala kahle usuku nosuku. Ukufunda ngezandla, ukwakha imiqondo yesikhathi esizayo, ukuphatha uhlelo kungashiya umuntu emuva. Ngokuhamba kwesikhathi zonke izimangalo abathola bakhulisa ukuzethemba, ukhazulula izinkinga kudidiyelwe. I-Springfield Law Clinic, lapho amaphupho ethuthuka, ukhuthaza abantu, kukhanya kakhulu, kusukela ekhulwini ukuya esidalantini silwa. Ngenhlomini ngihlala kahle usuku nosuku. Amathoni techno nomoya wezwe, izithako ze-electronic zisenza sibemunye, zizwa amandla, zizwa umdlandla. I-Springfield Law Clinic siphumelela, dance for justice, hearts ignite, sihlangana sikhanye zinkanyezi. I-Springfield Law simile phezulu. Ubulungiswa kubo bonke. I-Springfield Law thola ukubizelwa, ndawonye sukutsha. Emphakathini wethu senza isinqumo, siza labo abaswele, sinika isandla. Ngokuthola yonke impumelelo sikhula, sakha ushintsho kulo mhlaba. I-Springfield Law Clinic, lo amaphupho ethuthuka, ukhuthaza abantu, kukhanya kakhulu, kusukela ekhulwini ukuya esidalantini silwa. Ngenhlonipho ngihlala kahle usuku nosuku. Sihlangene simunye futhi siqinile. I-Springfield Law Clinic, lapho siphila khona. Ngokuhamba kwesinyathelo, umdanso nengoma, silwa ngenhlonipho usuku lonke.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Can a community that once ignored the abuse now become part of the healing?
Thank you, Advocate. A community that once ignored the abuse is not disqualified. It is indicted. But indictment is not exile. It is an invitation to transform. And community is not just the village. It is the living room. It is the brother who stayed silent, the friend who changed the subject, the aunt who said marriage is hard, the pastor who preached endurance but not escape. Healing is not reserved for the innocent. It is demanded of the complicit. Because silence is not passive, it is permission. And permission was not neutral. It was violence. But communities can change. They can learn to listen without defensiveness. They can name the harm without euphemism. They can hold space without rushing to closure. To become part of the healing, a community must first confess. Not his story, but its own silence. It must ask, where were we when the bruises were visible? What did we call him when he left? Why did we protect her reputation more than his reality? Healing begins when the community stops asking him to move on and starts asking itself to move into discomfort, into accountability, into the sacred labor of repair. So, yes, Edward, a community that once ignored the abuse can become part of the healing, but only if it stops performing concern and starts practicing courage. Only if it stops preaching unity and starts modeling justice. Only if it understands that healing is not a welcome, it is a reckoning.
Thank you, Professor. What does reparation look like in a marriage? Financial, emotional, reputational.
Thank you, Advocate. The reparation is not romance. It is reckoning. It does not arrive with flowers. It arrives with receipts, with reflection, with responsibility. So financial reparation is not generosity. It is justice. It is the cost of therapy, relocation, lost income, and stolen time. It is the abuser paying, not gifting, for the damage done. It is the survivor no longer begging for what he is owed. Emotional reparation is not an apology. It is accountability. It is the abuser naming the harm without excuse. It is the survivor reclaiming his voice without interruption. It is the rebuilding of trust, not through promises, but through proof. Then reputational reparation is not silence. It is public truth. It is the community correcting the narrative. It is the family no longer whispering blame. It is the record reflecting reality, not rumor. In marriage, reparation must be more than reconciliation. It must be structural. It must be visible. It must be measurable. Because love without justice is captivity. That's a jail. And healing without reparation is performance. Let the ledger be opened. Let the truth be spoken. Let the dignity be restored financially, emotionally, and reputationally.
Thank you, Professor. Should restorative justice include public apology, restitution, or institutional reform?
Thank you, Edward. Restorative justice must not be symbolic. It must be structural. It cannot live in private whispers or closed door reconciliation. It cannot be that. It must walk into the public square, bearing truth, cost, and change. So a public apology is not theater. Is it? It is testimony. It is the abuser saying, I did this. It is the institution saying, we allowed this. It is the community saying, we will not forget. Because silence is not healing, it is erasure. Restitution is not charity, it is repair. It is the financial cost of harm, the emotional cost of silence, the reputational cost of disbelief. It is the ledger opened, the debt named, the dignity repaid. Institutional reform is not optional. It is overdue. It is the policy rewritten, the staff retrained, the culture recalibrated. It is the system saying, we will not protect harm again. So yes, advocate, restorative justice must include all three. Because justice is not a feeling, it is a framework. And healing is not a moment, it is a movement. Let the apology be public. Let the restitution be real. Let the reform be permanent. Only then does justice restore. Only then does dignity return. Only then does the wound become history, not prophecy.
Thank you, Professor. How do we ensure that survivors are not re-traumatized by the very systems meant to protect them?
Thank you, Advocate. Protection must not echo the harm. It must interrupt it. Because a system that asks him to relieve the wound in order to prove that it was real is not protection. It is performance. Re-traumatization hides in procedure. It is the form that demands graphic detail, the officer who doubts his tone, the counselor who asks why she stayed, the courtroom that treats his pain as evidence but not as truth. To protect without re-traumatizing, we must redesign the ritual. We must train the listener before we train the lawyer. We must center dignity before we center documentation. We must ask, does this process heal or does it reopen? Survivors must not be treated as unreliable narrators of their own lives. They must not be asked, rather, to perform pain for credibility. They must not be punished for clarity or silence or strength. So, how do we ensure protection without re-traumatization? We build systems that believe first. We build protocols that adapt. We build institutions that understand trauma is not linear and neither is justice. Because if the path to safety feels like the path to suffering, then the system is not a sanctuary, it is a squib. Let us rewrite the script. Let us recalibrate the process. Let us ensure that protection does not come at the cost of peace.
Thank you, Professor. Is trauma literacy a missing skill in our courts, clinics, and churches?
Thank you, Advocate. Trauma is not just pain, it is pattern. It rewires memory, reshapes speech, and redefines safety. And yet, our courts demand coherence. Our clinics demand compliance. Our churches demand forgiveness. Trauma literacy is not empathy, it is expertise. It is the judge who understands that silence is not contradiction. The nurse who knows that withdrawal is not defiance. The pastor who sees that rage is not rebellion, it is residue. Without trauma literacy, institutions become interrogators, not healers. They ask what happened before asking what hurts. They measure credibility by composure. They confuse survival strategies with moral failure. So yes, trauma literacy is missing. It is missing in the courtroom that cross-examines pain, in the clinic that prescribes without listening, in the pulpit that preaches peace without naming violence. To restore dignity, we must teach trauma as fluently as law, medicine, and theology. We must train every judge, every healer, and every preacher to recognize trauma not as weakness, but as wisdom, not as disorder, but as data. Because until our institutions understand trauma, they will continue to wound while claiming to protect. Let us rewrite the curriculum. Let us recalibrate the ritual. Let us ensure that literacy includes the language of the wounded.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to a song called Inhliziyweni Yokwakha.
Inhliziyweni yokwakha lapho mapho bethola khona ukuhamba Springfield Research University khanya kahle ngesifunda ezifunayo nesifiso ezizama siphusha intela esiphila kusukela ezilabhini kuye ezinganyezini sihlola ukungaziwa ngeziqu nesifiso imbewu yethu ifakwe emaphahleni nobuhlakani lapho kusasa lenziwa Springfield imile phezulu ayinankinga Springfield lapho ubuhlakani buhlangana nezulu kustenga sikhuphuka sifinyelela phezulu ngezwi le-orchestra ngezinsimbi ze-elektroniki balethu likhula enhlizweni ngayinye likhuthaza emkhakheni wokuthola lapho isayensi ihola khona ubuchwepheshe ne-engineering ukwakha nsuku zonke i-mathematics nemithi ixazulula umgibelo omkhulu wempilo Springfield Research University thina siphakeme kusukela ezilabhini kuye ezinganyezini sihlola ukungaziwa ngeziqu nesifiso imbewu yethu ifakwe emaphahleni nobuhlakani lapho kusasa lenziwa Springfield imile phezulu ayinankinga Springfield lapho ubuhlakani buhlangana nezulu kustenga sikhuphuka sifinyelela phezulu ngezwi le-orchestra nezinsimbi ze-elektroniki balethu likhula enhlizweni ngayinye likhuthaza ngezingumo ezitholakele ethubelisha sikhanyisa indlela emhlabeni omusha ngobuhlakani sihlanganisa i-orchestra ne-electronic uya we-Springfield unophelo ngowesithombe Springfield lapho ubuhlakani buhlangana nezulu kustenga sikhuphuka sifinyelela phezulu ngezwi le-orchestra nezinsimbi ze-elektroniki balethu likhula enhlizweni ngayinye likhuthaza ngezingumo ezitholakele ethubelisha sikhanyisa indlela emhlabeni omusha ngobuhlakani sihlanganisa i-orchestra ne-electronic umoya we-Springfield unophelo ngowesithombe ngezingumo ezitholakele ethubelisha sikhanya kustenga sithokozisa ngazo zonke amandla ethu ngesifiso kanye nolwazi sikhanyisa indlela ifa le-Springfield lizohlala njalo.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Can healing be complete without justice, or must they work together?
Thank you, Advocate. Healing without justice is survival, but healing with justice is sovereignty. One teaches the body to breathe again. The other teaches the soul to speak. Justice is not a detour. It is a companion. It walks beside the healing, not behind it. Because wounds do not close when truth is denied. And peace does not last when harm is unnamed. Healing may begin in solitude, but it cannot finish in silence. It needs the system to listen. It needs the law to respond. it needs the community to remember. Justice is the architecture that holds healing upright. It is the apology that is public, the restitution that is real, the reform that is permanent. So, no, healing is not complete without justice. Because healing without justice asks the survivor to carry the cost alone, to forgive without repair, to move on without recognition. Let them walk together. Let healing speak. Let justice answer. Only then does the wound become wisdom, not just memory.
Thank you, Professor. Should restorative justice be offered only after legal accountability, or can it precede it?
Thank you. So restorative justice is not a squib, it is a stance. It does not wait for the gavel to fall. It does not require the courtroom's permission. It begins when truth is named, harm is centered, and dignity is restored. So legal accountability is structural. Restorative justice is relational. One enforces the law, the other repairs the soul. And while they must eventually meet, they need to arrive in order. To insist that restorative justice must follow legal judgment is to delay healing until the system catches up. But survivors do not live in legal time. They live in emotional agents. They need recognition before verdicts. They need repair before rulings. Restorative justice can precede the law, but it must never replace it. It must not be used to silence prosecution, to sanitize harm, or to shortcut accountability. So yes, restorative justice can come first, but only if it is real. Only if it names the harm. Only if it does not ask the survivor to trade justice for peace. Let the truth be spoken early. Let the healing begin boldly. Let the law arrive with reinforcement, not resistance. Because justice is not a sequence. It is a covenant. And every covenant begins with the truth.
Thank you, Professor. What message do we send when survivors are told to move on without being heard?
Yeah, thank you, Advocate. We send the message that pain is inconvenient, that dignity has a deadline, that truth must be trimmed to fit our comfort. To tell a survivor to move on without listening is to say, your wound is not worthy our time. Your story is too heavy for our ritual. Your healing must happen elsewhere. It is not advice. It is abandonment. We teach him that silence is survival, that speaking is punished, that naming the harm is more offensive than the harm itself. We teach the community that complicity is culture, that discomfort must be avoided, that reconciliation is more important than recognition. We teach institutions that speed is virtue, that closure is more sacred than clarity, that justice must be tied even when the wound is not. So, what message do we send? We send the message that harm is tolerated, that healing is rushed, that truth must be quiet. But we must change this message. We must say, stay as long as you need. Speak as loud as you must. Heal in your own time and on your own terms. Because move on is not a path. It is dismissal. And survivors deserve more than movement. They deserve meaning.
Wow, this is amazing. Let's take a commercial break and stay tuned.
At Springfield Research University, we don't teach to pass exams, we encode futures. Grounded in Education 6.0 and powered by STEMA, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine and automation, we deliver modular, sovereign learning across undergraduate, master's and doctoral programs. Explore our prospectus, where every curriculum is designed to stematize every discipline, dignify local authorship, and credential transformative knowledge. Be stematized, be sovereign. Here, knowledge is authored, not borrowed. Curriculum is credentialed, not copied. Every graduate becomes an architect of transformation. With 2 annual intakes, March and September, the path to innovation is always open. From the logic of automation to the soul of indigenous intelligence, SRU is where tomorrow is designed. Springfield isn't just a university, it's an epicenter of epistemic dignity. Join the movement. Study where learning governs itself. Springfield Research University, the globe is here. Where are you?
Welcome back. Let's continue our discussion. Is it time to build survivor-led spaces for healing, storytelling, and policy reform?
Thank you, Advocate. It is not just time. It is overdue. Because every system that speaks about survivors without listening to them is not reforming. It is rehearsing control. Survivor-led spaces are not support groups. They are sanctuaries of truth. They are where healing is not managed but authored, where storytelling is not curated but unleashed, where policy is not imposed but imagined from the wound outward. So healing must be sovereign. Let him choose the rhythm. Let him name the harm. Let him define what repair looks like without apology, without permission. Storytelling must be sacred, not for entertainment, not for evidence, but for reclamation. Because when survivors speak, systems tremble, and that is justice. So policy reform must be participatory. No more drafting laws in boardrooms untouched by pain. Let the survivor sit at the table, not as a token, but as a theorist. Let his experience shape the statute. Let his memory rewrite the manual. So yes, it is time. Time to build spaces where the wounded are not just heard, but heeded. Not just invited, but empowered. Because survivor-led spaces do not just heal the individual, they recalibrate the institution.
Thank you, Professor. And finally, if dignity was broken in silence, how do we rebuild it in truth, in law, and in love?
Thank you, Advocate. We begin not with repair, but with recognition. Because dignity is not restored by accident. It is rebuilt by design, through truth that trembles, law that listens, and love that does not flinch. Truth must be the first brick, not the polished truth of public relations, but the raw truth of the wound. The truth that names the harm, that indicts the silence, that refuses to be rewritten by comfort. Law must be the scaffold, not the law that delays, deflects, or demands perfection, But the law that protects the broken, punishes the harm, and codifies the survivor's right to be heard, believed, and restored. Love must be the motor, not romantic love, not performative love, but radical love, the kind that stays when the story is messy, that holds space without rushing closure, that sees the survivor not as a victim, but as a theorist of his own healing. So, how do we rebuild dignity? We do not whisper it back. We declare it, we legislate it, we embody it. Because dignity broken in silence must be rebuilt in chorus, with truth that echoes, law that defends, and love that refuses to look away. Thank you, Advocate, for your being.
Thank you, President, for reframing healing as a structured journey, not a whispered hope. Your vision of restorative justice is survivor-led, trauma-informed, and institutionally supported reminds us that dignity must be rebuilt with clarity and care. To our audience, if you are ready to design justice that heals, build systems that listen, and restore what violence tried to erase, Springfield Research University awaits you. Visit www.springfieldresearchuniversity.net and join the mission to rebuild dignity through law, leadership, and love. That brings us to the end of this restorative edition of Springfield Career Insights. May tonight's reflections offer bound, blueprint, and boldness. I am Clarence, your host.
Siyakupuga tikitile futanza lunga kiwa hey 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 siyakupuga sonke siyavumelana ngemjulu lomuhle sonke similela. I've walked through fire, I felt the strain, the weight of silence, the ache of pain. But in the stillness I hear your name, calling me to rise again. Breathe again. Just love untold, you restore what life stole. Breathe again, Spirit of grace. Fill this place with holy flame. Let every burden melt away in your mercy. In the halls of Springfield, where dreams take flight, faculties diverse, shining bright. From arts and law to business and education, a world of knowledge, endless exploration. Springfield, where futures are made, agricultural and earth sciences, health and medical aid, engineering and electronics, innovations call postgraduate studies. We systematize and industrialize all. In labs and classrooms, brilliance unfolds. Students choose paths, stories told. Science and technology, where minds ignite. Springfield stands tall, a beacon of light. Springfield, where futures are made, agricultural and earth sciences, health and medical aid, engineering and electronics, innovations call postgraduate studies. We systematize and industrialize all. With dramatic strings and brass so bold, a cinematic climax, stories untold. Springfield's legacy, a tale so grand. Future leaders rise, taking a stand. Springfield, where futures are made, agricultural and earth sciences, health and medical aid, engineering and electronics, innovations call postgraduate studies. We systematize and industrialize all. In the heart of Springfield, a new dawn breaks. With Channel Yamaswati, our future takes shape. Career insights, knowledge shared so bright. Together we rise, reaching new heights. Springfield's calling, let's unite. With Channel Yamaswati, we ignite. Innovation and growth, we lead the way. Together we shine, here to stay. Together we rise, together we shine. there's nothing to